Thank you. Very nice introduction. Hi, guys. How's everybody doing? Nice to see everyone. Friendly faces. I'm here to tell you that I am a loser. A ridiculously tremendous loser. I'm not kidding. I was terminated from 3 jobs in 2 years. Now, if you're young and fresh-minded and right out of college, that might not seem like a big deal, but if you're married and you have a mortgage and you have children, that's devastation. That is who you are, that is your identity, and it is torn away from you. The last time it happened, I was an employee at a company called Buddy Media, great company, until they unceremoniously terminated my employment there. I was so stunned that I literally couldn't speak. No words. I could hear the blood rushing in my ear. I could hear my heartbeat, and it flashed before me the conversation I was going to have with my wife when I got home. The gentleman who was terminating me looked at me and graciously said, "You're obviously in shock." Stood up, shook my hand, and escorted me out. I went back to my desk, started to gather my things, and my friends jokingly said, "Chris, what are you doing, a little spring cleaning?" And I said, "No, I just got fired." Silence. Get into the elevator, about to go down the elevator with the director of HR, and it dawns on me. I turned to her and I said, "My wife's pregnant with our 2nd child. What do I do?" I got off the elevator, like a bad movie, holding the box, trembling. I'm like, I have no idea what to do. I've been completely caught off guard here. But at that moment, when I realized I was a loser, I got a little angry, just a little bit. And I decided to take hold of my future and my destiny. And I swore to myself that I would never, ever work for somebody else ever again. You can never be a winner and a chooser until you all admit that you're a loser. We've all lost at some point in our lives. We all have that scar tissue. We've all gotten beaten up on the playground or been the last to get picked. We've all gotten a little bit angry, and I encourage you to harness that anger, not crazy like, "Oh, I'm furious." I want just like a little I'm in a spot in my life that I'm not comfortable, like a little gritted teeth, and I want to get here. Because if you focus that, you can do amazing things. And I need you to understand that you don't need to wait for anybody else to take action. If you're on a mission, do not ask for permission. Just execute what you need to execute. Clay Shirky gives a TED Talk, and he talks about the idea of social media, that it's all of the major media inventions over the past 500 years rolled into one. Printing press, telephone, television, movies, everything rolled into the internet is actually social media. And I latched onto that TED Talk because it articulated to me that I could be the curator of everything online. My destiny was in my hands. Flash back to 2007, I was a director of sales at an ad network. I call it the grumbling underbelly of the internet, the tooth-whitening, colon-cleansing, ringtone-getting portion of the internet. It was fun, it was exhilarating, I was making good money, but I was a director of sales, and I wanted to be a vice president of sales. I wanted to buy my wife a lovely home in bucolic Chappaqua. She was pregnant with our 1st child. And I went to a headhunter and I started trying to go on interviews, and he kept sending me to director of sales interviews. I'm like, "No, man, I want to be a VP of sales." And it dawned on me, the only people that knew how good I was were my clients and my boss. And that certainly wasn't going to get me a vice president's job. So in 2007, in the midst of an office that was being renovated, I had the worst seat in the house. I decided to take control and leverage these technologies, and I created a blog, creatively named ChristopherDessi.com. And I started blogging. And I started going on interviews and realized that when I went on the interviews, they were now getting their 5th, 6th, 7th impression of me. This was no longer a first impression scenario. I was like, I think I'm onto something here. And I got the job as a VP of ad sales. And then in 2008, as that VP of ad sales and understanding that I could harness that technology, I saw a gentleman by the name of Gary Vaynerchuk speak at the Web 2.0 conference, and I was blown away. So then I wanted to work in social media, and I started to interview at social media for social media companies, and they said, listen, Chris, you're VP of ad sales in an ad network. You don't have social media experience. Felt like a loser. Got a little angry. Didn't ask for permission. So I went to GoDaddy and I purchased FacebookShouldHireMe.com. They didn't hire me. Facebook, whatever, your loss. But I leveraged technology that gained national attention. I was featured in Fortune magazine for creative ways to look for a job by purchasing FacebookShouldHireMe.com. I should mention that it was a blatant ripoff of Jamie Varon's TwitterShouldHireMe.com, but I was still inspired by it. And I realized that I was able to take control of my destiny by leveraging these technologies and do some really interesting things. I then leveraged the FacebookShouldHireMe.com to get my dream job in social media at a company called Buddy Media. We know how that ended. Not so well. Buddy Media then asked me to leave, shows me the front door, and I say, okay, now it's time for me to take charge. At that point in my career, there were some personal things going on. My father was diagnosed with a disease called ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease. And after being terminated, I started working with a business partner. The business partner is a really smart guy, and we had a really good time, but we weren't doing some really incredible things that I thought that we could create together. So again, felt like a loser a little bit. I got a little bit angry, and I said, well, let me just take charge of certain things. So I went and I bought a URL called westchesterdigitalsummit.com, and I said to my business partner, why don't we do this? He's like, Chris, that's going to be a lot of work. And I was like, well, no kidding, it's going to be a lot of work. Let's execute this, it'll be fantastic. And he said, I'm not into it. So I peeled away, and I started Silverback Social. And I leveraged technology. I purchased the URL Silverback Social. I went on Elance, and I had them create a logo. I went to LegalZoom, and I had them create my LLC, and I spent, not happy to say it, I'm a little embarrassed to say it, 3 days working in my home office, and I didn't bathe, nor did I brush my teeth. And my wife said, you need to get out of the house. And it was all because I felt like a loser, I got a little bit angry, and I harnessed the technology to take control of my destiny. You heard in the introduction that the Westchester Digital Summit this year was named by Forbes magazine as one of the must-attend conferences for marketers in 2014. That was simply because of that process. I felt like a loser, I got a little bit angry, and I focused, and I didn't ask for permission, and I leveraged the technology to execute it. Silverback Social grew close to 3,000% last year, and the summit has been a tremendous success. But I mentioned earlier that there were some things happening in my personal life when my father was diagnosed with ALS that kind of knocked me on my backside a little bit in the midst of that trajectory. And I thought to myself, I've been able to leverage those 3 tenets throughout my career and able to push up these different levels by realizing that I'm a loser in a bad spot, get a little bit angry, and not asking for permission. Why can't I execute that in my personal life? And the way it manifested itself in my personal life was I spent a year training for the New York City Marathon. Grueling, crazy training, if anybody's trained for a marathon. I got to the point where I was just about to run the marathon, and Hurricane Sandy hit. Felt like a loser. The one marathon that I'm training for, hurricane hits, and I can't run in the New York City Marathon that I've trained so hard for. And the reason why it was important is because I was running the marathon for my father. I was raising money for ALS research. So I found out that the marathon was canceled, and I was actually staying at my parents' house with my children and my wife, my brother, and his kids, and his wife. And it was kind of nice, like we were all kind of hanging out together. And I had 2 scotches. I was like, they're not doing the marathon, the heck with it. And I had a slip of Oreos. I kid you not, the full slip of Oreos. It's like, oh, I get to eat. Next morning, I wake up and I'm a little hungover. I'm in the shower. Nobody had power except for my parents. And again, feeling like a loser, a little bit angry. I said, why the fuck do I have to ask permission? I don't. So I said, I'm going to run the marathon anyway. So I told my father about the time that I was going to finish running the marathon, so I thought. My wife dropped me off at our townhouse in Chappaqua. I ran 10 miles, meandering through Chappaqua by myself. I had a Map My Run app on my arm, so I figured I'd do all right. I had planted water for myself at a track in a neighboring town, and I started running. Get to the track after the 10 miles, and I start going in circles. And there are soccer games going on. And I see a woman that I would see on the track when I was training. She says, I'm so sorry. She like zips by, sorry they canceled the marathon. I said, I'm doing it right now. She was like, what? So I'm running. And if you've ever run a marathon, you know it takes a few hours. She peels off and she starts telling the soccer teams that are playing what I'm doing. And something really crazy and magical and beautiful started to happen. The players started cheering me. We like get 8 to 10-year-old little kids. They're like, come on! And they start running with me, and they're like, it's like Rocky, go, go! And I'm laughing, and I'm like, I still got 6 miles to go. Don't get me excited. I'm like trying to keep a pace here. And then I see my family come. And my kids are there, and my wife is there, and my brother's there, and his kids are there, and his wife is there, and my cousin Trish is there, and my dad is there in his wheelchair. And I'm realizing to myself, I'm like, something really incredible has happened and really magical has happened because I felt like a loser, I got a little angry, and I didn't ask permission, and I just did it. So, this is me being lucky enough to cross the finish line with my dad there. So folks, if you ever feel like a loser, I want you to get like a little angry, get focused, and don't ask for permission. Thank you.